The Embassy Group welcomes you to the leading ladies in conversation with the leaders of change. I request you all to keep your mobile phone switched off or on silent mode if you can't switch it off. Thank you very much. As adults, we all know one cannot escape the constant that is change. Global businesses have made way for opportunities. And as Indian women, we know that we must manage the many roles that we don on the work front, on the home front, and socially. So how does anyone survive this change? How does anyone embrace this change and grow along with it so that it may become the best version of who we are? The message we are aiming to drive today is to be more, to do more. May I now invite Mr. Mike Holland, CEO, Embassy Office Parks, to deliver the welcome address.
No clapping required. So welcome. Thank you very much for coming. We organize, I think Deva and her team, I don't know if you've met Deva, but she leads our Marcom team. That's Deva over there, and Vijaya, her colleague. She, in the last year, has organized about 40 different events with 16,500 people participating from the 170 plus companies who operate in Embassy's business parks. But of those 40 events, the one event that she and I and the company really look forward to and get really excited about is this event, which we did last year around International Women's Day. This year we've got many more people attending. I thought we'd be a bit more packed. So she said earlier on, we're going to have too many people, we're not going to get them in, but I said that's going to be a high-class problem. So we're really excited to have this event, and we've just got such a great lineup of speakers. I think you'll have seen those. Today we've got companies here attending that include companies like ANZ. We're really grateful that we got a lot of people from ANZ. Thank you. We've got, I'll just run through so that you get a feel for the diverse group that we've got. We've got people from AZB, which is a leading legal practice here in India, Cognizant, Cushman's, Eli Lilly, Fidelity, Goldman's, IBM, L&T, Lowe's, a speaker from Lowe's actually, Northern Trust, NVIDIA, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Quest Global, that's an aerospace technology company, Target, Volvo, Wells Fargo, and so on. So if I haven't mentioned the name of your company, that doesn't mean that you're not valued. I'll just quickly run through. But thanks a lot for coming. It's really terrific. You know, the positive changes that we've seen over the last 20 years in India, in urban India, particularly with regards to gender issues, I think is really encouraging. I came here first at the end of the 90s, and the change that I've seen in that period of time, particularly with regards to women in the workplace, has been quite phenomenal. I think we're all privileged, people in this room are generally privileged to be part of a small urban ecosystem that probably we're at the forefront of that, you know, we welcome the opportunity at Embassy to set up a forum where we can talk about the advances that have been made, the positive sides of things, but also to discuss and think about what actions could be taken to address some of the areas that we're not seeing as much progress. So that's part of the reason that we've supported this. I just want to tell you a little bit about Embassy Group in relation to the subject of gender diversity. You know, when we looked at the data at women in our company, and we're a relatively small company that's been around for about 25 years, we see an overall ratio in our group of 27% female to male, which is perhaps not where we would like it to be. But actually, when we look at and break up the different parts of the company, what we see is that the legacy parts of the business, the older parts of the business, have a much more skewed ratio. And so the newer parts of our business and our residential business are actually in the levels of 46, 47, and 58% of the numbers. So I take away a positive from that, which is that as our company evolves in the same way that our urban India evolves, we're seeing more women in our workplace. We're seeing more of that younger generation. We're seeing change in people's attitudes. And that I see as a positive thing. In fact, when we segmented the company, the newest business that Embassy is embarking upon, it's a co-working space called WeWorks. So some of you who have international business, you may know of WeWorks. It's a New York-based co-working space. So Embassy has partnered with WeWorks out of New York. So we're setting up multiple centers across the country. And in fact, when I looked at the hiring stats for WeWorks, more than 50% of the new hires into WeWorks are women. I'm also proud to say that within our senior management team at Embassy, about a third of my senior colleagues heading departments or different verticals in the company are women. All of those women, when I went through the list earlier today, all of them have been hired over the years by our chairman, Jitu Virwani, which I think is a credit to, and many of them have risen through the organization to become members of our senior management team. I think that's a credit to the way in which our organization is changing and a credit to our chairman, Jitu. Just to give you some examples, our head of residential, who's called Riza Sebastian, she'll be here a little later on today, is a woman. Our head of HR, the leader of Embassy's international investment team, who's based in Europe, is a woman. Some of you will know the director of Embassy International Riding Stables, who's also a good friend of mine, Silva Storai. Silva is an Italian lady who came over to India 25 plus years ago. She is the only woman worldwide who has won 3 derbies, races in Hyderabad, Mysore, and in Bangalore. But she's another member of our international, of our leadership team. I'm also pleased that today the principal of Stonehill International School, Dr. Beverly, is here with us today. Beverly, if you could just put your hand up. Unfortunately, the head of our corporate affairs and community engagement, Shaina Ganapati, is unwell today. But Shaina is responsible for our engagement outside of our businesses in the community. And I think gender issues go well beyond the workplace, particularly in India. Our key focus in the CSR space is in education, and we actively support and fund 15 government schools with 4,000 pupils across Bangalore. And I'd also like to thank some of the parents from Stonehill who are here today, who I know help out in some of those government schools with education and teaching languages and sport. So thank you for that. But something else that we're doing in the schools is particularly in relation to refurbishing and providing decent, gender-segregated sanitary accommodation. And that's addressing the grassroots issue about girls attending school and providing decent facilities for them. So that's a little bit about Embassy, a little bit about what we're doing in the community. I know you haven't come here to listen to me. I think the list of speakers that we have today is really first class. So I want to thank all of those speakers who are here. Some of them haven't yet arrived. We've got a packed program, and I'm sure that we're all going to find it's going to be a really worthwhile and fun afternoon. So thank you for making the time to come along.
Thank you, Mike. Our first topic for the day is Against All Odds, My Struggle to Emerge Successful by Dr. Ananda Shankar Jayant. Now, many of you might know Dr. Jayant already, but I'm going to try and briefly introduce her as well, try to do justice to her introduction. She is known popularly as someone who breezes through multiple worlds of bureaucracy, academics, and arts, and straddling them with equal ease. Her endeavor as an aspiring young professional, as a young lady officer at the South Central Railways in Secunderabad speaks volumes of her valor. She is celebrated as one of India's most eminent and renowned classical dancer, choreographer, and a dance scholar. For her contribution to the field of classical dance, Ananda was conferred the Padma Shri in 2007 and the Sangeet Natak Akademi Puraskar for Bharatnatyam in 2009. Dr. Ananda is a sought-after motivational speaker, and her TED Talk in 2009, after her battle with cancer, has been ranked among the top 12 incredible TED Talks on the subject. In January 2015, the Huffington Post ranked Dr. Ananda's TED Talk as one of the 5 greatest TED Talks by Indians. I think this lady deserves some adulation. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Ananda Shankar Jayant.
Thank you for that introduction, much of which I don't deserve. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On the cusp of the Women's Day, as we celebrate womanhood, as we celebrate genders in its entirety, I bring to you 3 images. Images that surround us in this country, that are part of the collective unconscious of who we are. So I bring to you the image of Lakshmi. Each of us as Lakshmi, the goddess, radiant, beautiful, full of well-being and energy and life. I bring to you the blessings and the image of Saraswati, gorgeous, beautiful, mature, elegant, bedecked in white, full of memory. She represents memory, perceptiveness, creativity, learning, wisdom, and knowledge. Something that we all seek to embody and have reached somewhere in that path. And the third goddess I bring to you is Durga, my favorite. Durga, furious, ferocious, fearless, fearful, and fierce. A goddess who makes us and the world look at it differently. I bring to you Lakshmi, Saraswati, and Durga, the embodiment of womanhood, the embodiment of who we all are today. Radiant, knowledge, and ready to pick up and be furious in the face of any intolerance. So on that note, I wish you all a great Women's Day and a great week of celebrating that part of creativity and creation. I am Ananda Shankar Jayant, born to middle-class Tamil Brahmin parents in Hyderabad, a city nearby. At the age of 4, my mother, like all good South Indian mothers, took me to a temple in Sikandrabad. And there was this nice senior lady who looked at me and told my mother that your daughter has large eyes and you must teach her how to dance. My mother, being a very good Tamil mother, she said, I do want to teach her how to dance because that really is something I have to do, but I really don't know where to go. And this lady turned around and said, don't you worry, I'll teach her how to dance. And I looked back and I said, that's market savvy. You hang out in temples and find young 4-year-olds and tell them, mothers, that you have large eyes. So with that, that was my window, the doorway, my entry into the world of classical Indian dance at the age of 4. Soon, training with other teachers saw me receive medals, scholarships, prizes, the usual works. And at the age of 11, once again, it was my mother. She took me to Chennai. Now, why would one go to Chennai in this heat in the month of May? But we all did do that. So in the month of May, when I was 11, my mother took me to Kalakshetra in Chennai, where this beautiful 70-year-old guru, Rukmini Devi Arundel, who herself started learning how to dance at the age of 32 after seeing Anna Pavlova on a ship to Australia, had set up this beautiful campus, a 100-acre campus called Kalakshetra in Chennai. So if you go there, it's still there, it's beautiful, you should go and see it. And my mother took me there, and in typical South Indian style, I touched her feet, asking her to bless me, and she offered me an opening to join Kalakshetra. Magic. I come back home to Hyderabad, and my father is rather dismayed because I had come back with a scholarship from Eton to study Bharatanatyam in Chennai. It used to happen those days. And he wrung his hands in dismay, and he saw this 11-year-old firstborn want to be a doctor, very good in the science and the math subjects, suddenly decided she doesn't want to do all this and she wants to be a dancer in Chennai. But that was a problem. The problem was not so much about sending your 11-year-old to boarding. The problem was, what will you do? You don't have an education. You're 11. And he looked at me very woefully and he said, will you at least pass high school? I said, yes, promise. So I exchanged pinafores, convent school, black shoes, black ribbons in the hair, Our Father thou art in heaven, to Kalakshetra, lehenga vodni, big bindi, lot of oil in the hair, flowers in the hair, and the Gayatri mantra, and Bharatanatyam classes. Science and math was exchanged for Bharatanatyam classes. At the age of 11, I joined this institution called Kalakshetra to study Bharatanatyam, philosophy, music, dance, everything in its entirety of dance. But my promise to my father and my own ego of not wanting to be a school dropout rescued me. I slowly figured out how I would get through my high school certificate, and I did that privately. You can write exams privately. So I went on to do a Madras matriculation, as they used to call it, and a pre-university. So while I was preparing to be a full-time dancer, I also buttressed my education through this private studies and went on up to my graduation in commerce also. At the age of 17, after 6 years of Bharatanatyam training and a postgraduate diploma, back in Hyderabad, I became a young teacher at the age of 17, teaching 6-year-olds how to hold their hands like this and do that. They called me Akka or Didi then. They still do. It's nice to be a dance teacher. At 17, this talent, this training was inspiring me to take up dance as a full-time career. I imagined sleeping, dreaming, waking dance. But reality has other colors. Dreams can be rose tinted, but reality has the colors of having to pay your orchestra, your music, your light, your photographs, your stage, and the expenditure that went with being a performing artist. And as an up and coming dancer, I don't think I was able to garner that kind of income to support this kind of outflow. And so, not wanting to dip into my parents' little nest egg, I thought to myself, I need to push further. And I decided that I must advance my education and my research so that it will support me. Soon I found my way into the Osmania University, where I went on to do a master's in history, culture, and archaeology and art history. And there on the campus, friends were taking something called the exams. The exams being the Union Public Service Commission exams. Some of you in this room might have heard of it, some of you might have even tried for it, or you have parents or family members in the service. Union Public Service Commission exams are basically a relic of the British colonial rule in India. We still follow the civil services here. It's an administrative service. We have a whole lot of services we take an exam for, and we basically administer the country. So taking the exams for a lark, literally, I ended up being selected for the Indian Railway Traffic Service, becoming the first woman of the Indian Railway Traffic Service on South Central Railway in the Ministry of Railways, Government of India, being posted in Secunderabad. I burst through a very, very male bastion, macho, mustachioed, and muscular, as I call it. Rather completely male. They did not know what to do with me for 2 days. I went and sat in the round table. I told myself, I'm going to be in operations. Mainline operations. Joined mainline operations, and everyone completely ignored me for 2 days. We have this interesting room where the decisions of operations happen on a round table kind of format. And those days, we still have a phone which had a button in the middle. So if you press that button, you could hear all the conversations on the track, all the way from, say, Bangalore to Mysore. All the stations on the path, you could hear the conversation. So one day, after 2 days of being thoroughly ignored, I picked up the nearest phone to me and I said, "Squeaky, hello." And there was dead silence on the track, on the complete track, which is usually an absolute chatter. And they all said, "Ma'am, I think we got the residence by mistake. I'm sorry." And in government, we still say sir and ma'am. We haven't got around to first names yet. And they said sir to me for a whole 30 days. Joining a service like the railways, very, very macho, as I said, I learned how to sit on the round table, make decisions for operations, loading, unloading, track inspection, hierarchy, bureaucracy, even train accidents. Bureaucracy had me in its magnetic thrall. But while I was writing the exams, something very different happened. My mother, who was always behind me in everything I did, I remember her coming and telling me, "Don't take the exams." Can you imagine a mother telling you not to take an exam to get a job? She said, "No, you don't take these exams. Because once you do this, you will completely stop your dance. You will abdicate and sacrifice all that I have done for you and your own talent and your own training at the dull embers of a desk job. Is that what you want to do?" But I had made a promise to her, and I said, "I will not give up." So coming back to having been dealing with train accidents and all this kind of stuff, I ran into something else. I ran into a different kind of a challenge. I ran into challenges of what is it in the corporate world, in the world of government, where expectations, stereotypes, expect you to behave in a particular way. You are not a good officer if you're not there 24/7. You cannot go away and dance. So I had well-meaning friends actually come and tell me that why are you still doing this? Why are you still chasing this passion of yours? You have arrived with this all India service job. I mean, how many of you are there in this service? So why are you wasting your time? Why are you doing this? But they ran in to determine me. I had made a promise to myself more than my mother. And I decided that I will tread both paths. Yes, railways, 2 tracks, I will tread them both. And so I navigated rehearsals with office hours, negotiated leaves and permissions and travel and all the kind of things that you're all aware of in an organizational setup. I had made the decision of deciding to do both. I had made the decision of dealing with the first dimension of my career in the railways, got married, the second dimension of my family, and I had said I'm not giving up the third dimension, which is my art, which is who I am. I said I will deal with all this and I will live it through. That, my young friends, was 29 years ago. I still serve on the Indian Railways, and I still engage with dance 360 degrees as a teacher, as a performer. What you saw just now was a very small choreography. I think what I had learned, and I can share that with you today, is I had brought the learning of bureaucracy, of administration, of systems into my rather chaotic dancer world. And from this dancer world, I took back with me egalitarianism, aesthetics, beauty, and harmony to my rather mundane railway desk. In retrospect, what I think I had done is I had released my passion dance from the overriding necessity of it being a single career choice. I had decided not to mark and brush my dance with it being, by monetizing it as one career. I decided to release my passion dance from the burden of livelihood and compromise. Invariably in life, we have learned to understand that success equals bank balance, equals career, equals life calling cycle. I had decided not to monetize my dance as one career choice. Some of you might have heard of Dennis Waitley. He famously has said, chase your passion, not your pension. I beg to differ. Ensure your passion, ensure your pension, but don't you dare give up your passion. The other day, seeing Federer play the Australian Open, my heart throbbed, most of our heart throbs. I told myself, oh my God, I wish we had a career and a calling like Federer. It's both a career and a calling, but very few of us have callings that can give us that kind of a paycheck. So for us who do not have that kind of a calling, the best way forward is to tread 2 or more tracks. A career to help you sustain your dream. A career that will push your dream of your passion and take it forward and multiply you in the many dimensions of who you are as a human. I truly believe, my friends, that the binaries of chase your dreams versus be responsible are but products of our own mind and society. The trick here is to balance, like a good dancer, get your pose right, is to balance the multiple worlds that we are here to experience as human beings. It's like any good relationship, to marry your outside world with your inner calling. It's to bridge what feeds your bodies and what nourishes your soul. Unfortunately, when we do find these extraordinary jobs and careers, the first thing we sacrifice at the altar of that job, while we align and confirm, is our own dreams, is our own passion, is our own strength. Unique, each of us are, completely, one of a kind. And it's entirely up to us to make that uniqueness into extraordinary growth. And remember, these passions, while we pursue our core competency as engineers, as IT professionals, as HR professionals, as railway professionals, while we buttress and strengthen our core competency, somewhere we forget to nourish our core strength. And I make a clear distinction between the two. I'm convinced that your core strength invariably comes from one or many passions. Because this passion, this core strength invigorates you, makes you live. It is the ignition key, the magic of your life. It pulverizes obstacles. It helps you come back from setbacks, as it did with me. In 2008, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Yes, I was angry, like you saw in the video. I was disgusted with the whole idea. I was weeping. And I was afraid. Until then, as a dancer, I thought I knew what fear was because I could show it. It was so easy to show fear. That day I learned what fear was. I shed copious tears driving home with my husband. And I asked him, is this the end of the road? Not so much about life, but end of the road of my dance, because by now I think you realize how much I had invested myself in dance. And he, being the positive guy he is, he said, no, it's just a hiatus. You take a break, get your treatment going, and you'll be fine. The problem with art is you take a break and you're dead. So I pulled myself away from that anger, frustration, weepiness, absolute misery, and pulled myself up and declared to the world at large that I'm going to ride this out. I'm not going to allow cancer to ride me. Second affirmation, I said, this is one page in my life, not the book of my life. The third thing I said is, I'm not going to say why me. We all do that, don't we? When something good happens, we never say why me. When the awards come, when the good husband comes, when the lovely jewelry comes, when the next Porsche comes, it's never why me. But when we get some small setback, we turn around and ask ourselves in great agony, why me? Why have you done this to me? To whichever God or universe or whoever is around you, it's always, why me? And I said, that's one thing I'm never going to do. I'm never going to say why me. I never said why me when I got Padma Shri, so why should I do it now? And the fourth thing I said, I'm going to talk about it. I'm talking 8 years ago, 9 years ago. People were still not talking about cancer. It was still very hush-hush. There's much more opening that's happened now. And so I actually picked up the phone and called all my aunts and cousins and friends and said, you know what, I've got breast cancer. So my mother-in-law, she said, you didn't make as many calls for Padma Shri as you're doing for your... I said, there is a reason for that. The reason being, we in India tend to go and meet someone ill with rather long faces. Have you noticed? Our jaws hit our knees. We go there, we weepy, we're saying, we got the sad look in our eyes, we got the sad demeanor in our bodies, and we've already sent them to the grave. And I can cry seeing a stupid Hindi movie. So I said, I don't want this to happen to me. I don't want. So I told everyone, you finish your tears and your weeping and whatever, finish it at home. Don't come to me, I'm fine. So with this attitude, I went into surgery and chemo. And of course, chemo was difficult. My husband gave me another. Husbands are good sometimes. He gave me a nice metaphor for chemo. He said, it is amrita. It is nectar. I said, what? How can chemo be nectar? It's horrible. He said, no, it's cleaning you up. What is nectar supposed to do? It's supposed to give you life, right? So that's what chemo is doing to you. It's giving you life. And whoever told you nectar has to be sweet and that should not have side effects, that's fantastic. So these supports that I was getting from around me helped me ride through cancer. But more importantly, I had made the decision of continuing to dance. I said, I'm not going to stop dancing. So that decision helped me get back onto stage weeks after surgery, dancing through chemo, dancing through radiation. Yes, it wasn't easy. Yes, it was difficult. Yes, it was horrible. Yes, I was miserable. how do you keep track? How do you keep pace? How do you stay the course when you go from beautiful to bald in 3 days? How do you not feel miserable when climbing stairs became torture for me? I could dance for 3 years, but I couldn't climb stairs then, and that was torture. So I would go back into my dance studio, step by step, movement by movement, poetry by poetry, metaphor, philosophy, music, the whole works. That enveloped me. That I stayed in the cocoon of my passion. I stayed in that beautiful space, and they re-energized me. They gave me back my spirit. Yes, it was difficult. I literally had to regroup and rework on my dance. But being wrapped in that space, I completely brought laser sharp focus to my dance and did not allow the clatter and clamor and melodrama of cancer to invade my spirit. Yes, there is a huge clamor and clutter and melodrama that society throws at us. Why am I telling you this story? The story is only to share with you that in life, life challenges us differently. And I truly believe that the business of life is to challenge us. Each of us have been challenged differently. My challenge, one of them has been cancer. And when life challenges you like this, when it throws these, the curve ball, as they say in cricket, when it throws this to you or throws you speed breakers, roadblocks, obstacles, when it will. What will help you ride it out with ease and a great amount of confidence is your core strength. The core strength being your passion. It helps you, it handholds you and rides it out and helps you go over on the other side and look back as a learning curve. Our innate calling, our innate passions, this core strength then becomes the superconductor that taps into the powers of the universe. Because I truly believe that passion is your big move, the momentum of your life. And yes, it is possible to tread those many tracks. It's not, why am I doing this? It is possible to tread those many tracks. It's not an impossibility. It's entirely possible and eminently desirable that you find your core strength, you find those passions. Even if you don't have it yet, find them, nurture them, nourish them, cherish them. Make them the strength, the core of who you are. And this journey of life then makes a complete marked difference in what you are supposed to be doing here. What is the purpose of life? Richard Dawkins famously said, the purpose of all existence is to extend the species, make a difference, to extend the species further. My husband had a take to it, as husbands always do. He says, but as humans, we have the power to choose how different that contribution can be. Richard Dawkins said that every species contributes to the growth of the species. But as humans, we have the choice of ensuring and understanding how significant that choice can be, that contribution can be. And hence we come to the word choice. Choice. The one thing that we as humans have enormously. We have the choice to choose. As professionals, we are usually moving from A to B, from goal-oriented movements from A to B. But I personally believe that we are moving from B to D, from the door of birth through to the door of death. And yes, we are all born, and yes, we'll all go out through that door. Thank God for it. But between B and D is that nice alphabet C. No, it's not big C, it's not cancer. The big C for me stands for choice. It's the choices we make in our lives. It's the choices we make that decide how significant our life will be, how beautiful our life will be, how different it will be. And helping you make those choices I think, I personally strongly believe, is when you are able to tap into that inner core, that inner strength, that inner power of who we are. You can call it spirituality, you can call it religion, you can call it whatever you want. But I personally feel it comes from your innate passions, something that you will do come hell or high water, something that you will chase come rain or sunshine. That third dimension is you. That third dimension is what makes you different, is what makes you unique. That third dimension is what separates you from the world. And today, I'd like to leave you with that thought. And I'm sure all of you are already there, otherwise you wouldn't be in this place. You're already there balancing out the many parts of your life. But don't ever give a reduced attention to your third dimension. It could be embroidery. It could be cooking. It could be math, God forbid. It could be anything. I mean, I can't count. But I'm just saying, just while we get so caught up in the mundane and the regular, that we forget the magic that exists in each and every one of us. The magic of being unique, the magic of being human, the magic of being human attempting to be divine, the magic of embracing Lakshmi, Saraswati, Durga, Fatima, Mary, and everyone else in just who you are. And I think that will come when we start working from inside out. Invariably, as human beings, we are working outside in. We are constantly in reaction mode. We are reacting to the world outside. We are saying, oh, he didn't look at me, so he's upset with me. She didn't talk to me, so I am upset. It's constantly outside in. But if you work inside out and create and write the world outside, because that is the only truth. And that journey becomes much, much easier when your dimensions, first, second, third, whatever you want to call it, your core strength, your core competency, all align on this beautiful dance pattern. You're dancing in the atoms of the universe. Because, as my favorite writer, Wayne Dyer, said, heaven is not a place you must find, but a choice you must make. Thank you.